everybody, and welcome to the Fortress of Comic News, episode 80. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside
Mike, the other host.
What's up, Mike? You were gone last week.
Hey, I know. I don't even remember where I was. Let me think. Was I at a wedding?
You were at a wedding.
Yeah, I was at a wedding. At a hop farm, drinking beer, doing the things and the stuff. That's pretty much it. Yeah, after I got something to do next weekend. Then I'm pretty much set, ready to talk comics for the rest of the summer. We have a very special guest on the show today. He writes and draws for Alterna Comics. He has a book coming out. His name's Robert Geronimo. So stick around in the show to hear an awesome interview with him.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun.
For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see this awesome monster from behind me is actually from his new book, Blood Realm. And also in the interview, he shows us some exclusive pages behind him of art coming up in that book. So if you want to go check those out, head up the YouTube page. Look at me being good in advertising things.
You're starting to get this thing.
I'm starting to understand how this works. I'm finally on board. Chris, you have something fun to mention, huh? Speaking of attire, I wasn't talking about attire at all, but
speaking of, so if anyone, we are doing some merchandise stuff through teespring.com. So if you go to teespring.com/FCN t-shirt, we currently have a t-shirt up. It's going to be up through mid-August about. You can buy it, have it ordered to you or sent to you. So if you want that, it has our awesome Batman 66 logo on it. And if that goes well, we'll try to do some more and maybe in the future do some new art on them and stuff. But yeah, they're really cool. They do print run stuff for apparel and posters and all kinds of stuff. So I'm sure in the future you'll be seeing more Fortress Comic News stuff go up through there. So check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely picking one up. All right, we have a big show today. We're gonna jump right into the news. Chris and I really like talking to each other, but unfortunately, this show keeps getting popular and popular, and now we don't have much time to talk to each other.
Plus, we're leading up to San Diego Comic-Con, so
yes,
the early news is coming out now. Next week is the con.
Yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait to sit at my desk and pretend to do work while I'm watching panels.
Yeah, and it's going to be actually kind of good that you're not here next week because I get a chance to sit and digest everything. And then
the end of the week is always I used to watch it live. Honestly, I kind of watch all the videos as they're posted after, like on YouTube. I watch the big review. I just skip to the big reveals, basically. Okay, so we got some TV news. Aliens TV show is in the works. Might be happening, might not be happening.
Yeah, and I don't know how I feel about it. I love Aliens. Aliens hasn't been done very well recently.
Yeah.
It feels like mining a franchise that doesn't need it, but we'll see.
Haven't seen that happen before, Chris. I don't know. Never happens. We actually talk about that in the interview, reboots, and it's just, we'll see. Maybe it'll be good. Preacher this week. Chris is behind, but I watched it. Listen, I don't know how many times every week we got to tell you the show is amazing. This week was amazing as well. We get a little more into the development of Cassidy, and we find out Angelville doesn't take kindly to monsters and vampires, basically. So,
cool. Yeah, I essentially had some internet problems this weekend, so my normal time to watch it was interrupted by my internet provider being bad. So that's my excuse.
That's fine. I mean, it's great. There's nothing really I can spoil. We do get a talk of the coffin, so we might see that coming up. We might see Jesse being thrown into the coffin.
Fantastic.
Tulip is kind of exploring, trying to figure out how to get rid of that blood right document that Jesse gave to the grandmother, because they can't leave unless they get rid of that like blood oath he gave her. So he's kind of like in debt to her until she decides when. All right, so we got quite a bit of movie news. I saw the Shazam photo that dropped. What did you think about that? That was like straight from Jeff Johns' run of Shazam.
Yeah, it really showed an emphasis towards bright colors.
Yes.
Which is something that the DC Extended Universe has not been emphasizing. So I thought it was great. It looked great. Is it Zachary Levi who's playing Captain Marvel? His look and everything comes off cartoonish, but I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So I'm really excited. Like, that image alone got me stoked to see this movie.
And as far as like playing a kid trapped in an adult body, I mean, he did that for like 6 seasons on Chuck. So he's got some experience doing it. Yeah, it looks great. It's like him standing there with his buddy with the crutches. I can't remember his name. But he's standing there drinking cola outside of like a gas station. Looks awesome. I'm really excited for it. Hopefully we get to see some test footage, maybe a trailer next week. I don't know.
I don't think we'll see some. Better be goddamn Aquaman trailer. It's all I got to say. I know. We better get an
Aquaman trailer. James Wan, you son of a gun. We're here. We're waiting. Billy D. Williams is returning for Star Wars Episode 9. This kind of split the Star Wars fan base down the middle this week. I don't know if you saw it, but like I saw it on the internet. People were like, there was half the people saying, well, it all started off with like, okay, why did you not have Billy D. Williams come in for a cameo? Blah, 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 blah. And now they're like, okay, well, now he's getting a cameo. It's like, he's way too old to do that. And it's like, oh my God. I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I mean,
so let's get one thing out of the way. Harrison Ford was way too old to be in episode 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So,
for sure. Yeah.
and he was awesome. So, I'm excited for it. I guarantee you this was a last minute change because of Carrie Fisher's unfortunate passing. Yeah. But at the same time, like, he needed to come back at some point, and it seems like he's going to play a somewhat major role in the story, which I really hope is the case.
That's awesome. Yeah, so more Spawn movie news. It's still happening. And Jeremy Renner signed on to play Twitch Williams. So the cast so far is Jeremy Renner and Jamie Foxx.
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with Spawn, but getting Jamie Renner, star of the Avengers movie, seems like a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's almost like they're trying to get you to go see this movie with just the actor.
Well, I did like that McFarlane said that the reason he wanted Jeremy Renner was Spawn's not going to be in the movie all that much. He's kind of, you'll see in the interview we talked, or I should say Mike talked a lot about horror and things being kind of hidden in the background. And that's kind of the feel they wanted for the Spawn movie, was you don't want to see Spawn too much, and he needs to be kind of a feared vision and all this. So the movie's really going to follow this Twitch character, and they wanted someone like Jeremy Renner who could really push the movie forward to do it. So good on him. I'll see it when it comes out, but I just have no idea who this Twitch character is because I've never read a single frame of Spawn.
Me either. I didn't mean anything to me. Neil Blomkamp is going to direct a new RoboCop movie. This, I was excited when I read this week. Neil Blomkamp, oh man, he did what was it, Elysium? He did
District 9. And
the Chappie.
Yep.
Yeah. And he was doing the Predator movie, right? Wasn't the Predator movie his? Or no? It was for a minute and then he dropped out.
He might have been. He's been attached to a bunch of stuff over the years.
Yeah. I am so excited. And he always uses what is Sharto Copley is his name, I think. Copley. As like his main lead. If he's RoboCop, that's awesome. Because like every movie he has like killing people. Like I love RoboCop, and I think it's time we got a reboot. I mean, I know we had the the newish one,
which was it was okay, but it wasn't
wasn't
RoboCop. And when Frank Miller created RoboCop was commentary about the political system in the 80s mashed up with a typical action movie, like trying to make fun of that typical action movie that was coming around that time. Who better than Neil Blomkamp in the 2018 to do that? Like, the man knows how to do sci-fi with a political commentary, and he can run an action scene. So as long as he has a good script and a good team behind him, there's no one better to take over RoboCop. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, that's going to be great for sure. Okay, with that, we have an interview to cut to, everybody, with Robert Geronimo. So we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have another amazing guest, Mr. Robert Geronimo from Alterna Comics, author of Blood Realm. How's it going today, Robert?
Great, man. Happy to be here.
Not only the author, though, are you doing the pages too?
Yeah, I'm the illustrator and the colorist as well, so I don't sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
So basically you're doing everything but the lettering, right?
But the lettering, yeah. I work with Thomas Maurer. He does a lot of stuff for Image and stuff. The lettering is like a whole nother thing, and that I need to like get familiar with that.
Especially for your book too. I know we're kind of like jumping right into it, but there was a lot of stuff to talk about. But the lettering in your book is very strategic because I noticed the way you do your art and set up a page is not like a typical comic book,
right?
Which is not a bad thing. It's awesome, especially for your art style and like the really dark, like gothic style art, right? But it's interesting, like his choice of like where to put the word bubbles and stuff, right? It's
extremely strategic because you really want to follow that formation so your eyes can go across this page. Because, like you said, some of it's not traditional panels, so you're depending on the art and the lettering to guide you through it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so before we get into all that, so how did you get into comics? You're teaching now. You're teaching illustration now, which is awesome. We'll talk about that a little bit. But so what brought you into this world?
Okay, so as in like when I was a kid, and what made me want to?
Yeah, we'll start there. I mean, why not? Good origin story. Chris loves origin stories, so.
So basically, my mother, believe it or not, is massive comic book fan. My father. He appreciates it, but he was a Marine, Vietnam War, so not a big comic guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but she was a huge Superman collector. She loved Superman, and she took me to my first comic shop, and she really desperately wanted me to get into Superman. So, I'm looking at Superman. I'm like, this is cool. My mom really likes Superman, but my eye it wouldn't stop, just going to that corner, and I would just see John Constantine Hellblazer with those covers, and I want that. And she was like, no, absolutely. So my first comic was Superman. It's that, I can't remember the number, but it's that awesome black silhouette where he's just bursting through the chains, and it's a green background, and that I was hooked from day one because I was like, wow, this is a moving story. Like it's alive. It's like seeing, And the funny thing was, I never really actually read the comic. I don't know if you had this experience where I would just kind of like go through the pictures and then make up my own.
Oh, yeah, exactly. When I was a kid too, I was like, oh man, Iron Fist is on this one. I'm just going to flip through the pages and hit punching people. Yeah.
I actually didn't know why Doomsday and Superman were fighting till years later. I was just like, oh, maybe they just didn't like the way he looked, I don't know.
It's ugly. And that's funny you bring that up too, because we had a guest on earlier in the month that we talked about how comics nowadays, there's a lot more dialogue and a lot less like punching each other. It's more like, and that's what made it more interesting, I think, for kids. I mean, talk with you with your illustration background, that there's a lot of action going on. Everything's action packed, but now like these days with Image Comics and Scott Snyder writing Batman with this huge 50 issue story arc and all that stuff. It really relies on the storytelling, and people get more critical of that, like everything adding up, and not so much like, okay, I don't want to see people punching each other anymore. But,
right. No, we're definitely like going back to a time of like real solid, heavy duty stories now, which is really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so you started off with Superman.
All right. Yeah. So start off with Superman. Just long story short, I did eventually get that Constantine comic.
Good.
And that's when I really knew that, okay, this is my passion. I love horror.
Yeah.
And, always making, stories when I was a kid. I'm sure you guys can relate, just coming up with characters and stuff like that. And I reached like a break where I was like, okay, I'm going to not get into this stuff because, it's like you kind of reach like a point where you think you got the Holy Grail when you read Watchmen and you read Dark Knight Returns. You're like, wow, they all must be like this. And
No.
then you're just like, oh, there's some bad stuff out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I took a break, and then in high school, that's when they started Civil War. And my friend was like, dude, he was like, Captain America and Iron Man are fighting. And I was like, what? He was like, you got to get into this. After that, I was hooked. I got back into it, and then reignited my passion for John Constantine. Yep. And then ended up interning at Marvel Comics during my college years. So that was an incredible experience to really learn the comic was put together and made.
Yeah, that is so cool. Yeah, and so obviously you went to school for illustration.
I went to school for art, but I also wanted to be an art history professor because I love history. Like some of my favorite movies are like the Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff. It's like it's great. So I guess I kind of wanted to be like Indiana Jones, and you know what I mean? And learn about the Holy Grail and all this cool art. Yep. So I was doing that, and then I was going for my master's in it because you got to get like a PhD and all this crazy stuff to end up being a professor in that field. And there was a course being offered with Bruce Deegan, who's the creator of the Magic School Bus.
Wow.
I was like, oh man, I haven't drawn in so long, but I feel like I need to take this course. I owe it to my childhood, to try class. Yeah. So I said the hell of it. Had nothing to do with what I was studying. Took the course, and it was just like, oh man, I was back into drawing again, back into storytelling and comics. And then after that, I told my folks that I wasn't going to pursue this whole crazy professor thing, but working out in a weird way. That's what's ironic, it's like you end up falling back, because I wanted to be a professor, but then the art career led me to being a professor anyway. Yeah,
that's so cool.
It comes full circle.
It's funny how that works out like that. Yeah, that's awesome. And I heard, don't worry, I heard you mention, you say you love horror. I love horror. So Chris, you're going to have to buckle in for this episode because we're going to talk a little bit about that.
He's not a horror guy? Chris isn't a horror guy?
Well, he is, but I mean, he gets spooked pretty easily. And I always tell him about horror movies and he's just like, I'm not going to watch that.
It takes a very special horror movie, book, whatever. Like, I don't get into the genre, but when you get to the greats, The Walking Dead, George Romero, some of the old Friday the 13th and stuff like that, I enjoy, but I don't get into the nitty gritty like Mike does.
Yeah. I'm like watching Korean horror films and stuff.
All that intense stuff, man.
Yeah. We'll talk about that too, I'm sure, on the show. Okay, so before we get into the new book, and because that's a little tied to the horror and stuff, let's talk about Little Maya and how that started off.
So the Little Maya book was actually, the character was created in that class with Bruce Deegan.
Oh, okay. So, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So funny thing is that, I was like, he was like, what do you plan on doing? You're graduating and everything. I was like, well, I'm probably going to go and try and get a PhD. Got to apply to a bunch of schools, take on a big loan, and be like our history professor. And he just looked at me and went, don't do that. He goes, don't do that. Well, what am I going to do? This is what he said. He was like, it would be a shame if you don't give Little Maya the chance that, she deserves. And I was like, oh, damn. When the creator of the Magic School Bus tells you that, you're like, maybe I should try and do this thing.
Yeah.
So had no experience in children's books, but what was cool with Little Maya was that why he liked it a lot is that there are no words in Little Maya. So I kind of took my experience of, my relationship with comics when I was a kid, where I wouldn't read the words, I was just going through the stories. I said, let me create a story that has no words, where a kid can use their imagination, name the characters except for Little Maya, and imagine what the characters are thinking and saying, and it could be a good introduction to comic book storytelling.
Wow.
Well, I ended up doing a Kickstarter, and Kickstarter is a whole nother topic, but one thing I learned is that you don't run a Kickstarter runs you.
We've heard that too.
Oh, it was brutal, but I'm very fortunate that, it got funded, and, it's ironic because as much as I love the Little Maya stuff and the children's book stuff, I feel like that was kind of a stepping stone to get me back to what I always loved, because a comic that I wanted on that shelf was Constantine. It was horror. And I found that I was warming up. When I would draw the Little Maya pages, I would warm up drawing these horrific things in my sketchbook. I was like, maybe this is a sign, So I took a break from the Little Maya books after that, because there were 3 that were kickstarted.
Yep.
And then my first reintroduction to horror was the Agent 87 and the Black Train book.
Okay.
So, yeah, and you saw that on my website.
Yeah, so we could talk about that. Wow, I usually I have to do the segues, but you kind of took care of it. I could just sit back now for this episode. This is great.
That just happened, man. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, there goes my face. Okay. What a coincidence that. Okay, so let's talk Agent 87. So you took a break from the children book thing, and then you got into a little more darker of a story.
Exactly, and going back into again, Indiana Jones. I wanted to go back to those Indiana Jones roots, where it's a globe-trotting adventure, because I love pulp. I love the comics of I don't know if you remember too. Remember The Phantom with Billy Zane?
Yeah.
That movie ages like a fine wine, and it's so underrated. It is so
yeah, it is. It really is. And it's funny you just mentioned that, because I was telling Chris I'm actually rewatching all of the Venture Brothers.
Oh.
Yeah, and one of I can't remember his name now. I think he's Phantom Limb.
Yes,
is an exact reference of the Phantom, and it's like that. I was just laying on the couch watching that, thinking oh man, I used to watch this movie on VHS religiously. I'd go over to my grandmother's house, and that's the only movie I'd watch. I'd always pick that movie. Yeah, and it's that classic style of that old Bronze Age superhero stuff, right?
Oh, it's the best. And also during that time in the 90s, which is ironic because a lot of this generation now, they're getting the Thor, they're getting all that stuff. But our comic book movies when we were young, it was obscure, like The Shadow with Alec Baldwin.
Yes.
Who asked for that? But it was awesome. I even did the figures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. And even Tim Burton's Batman was very pulp-like. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
You know?
Kind of noir feel to it.
Right, and there was another one too, I forgot. But I really love pulp, and I love how there's this interesting period where it's pre-World War II, and people are still discovering stuff at the Egyptian tombs. So you can tie that in with horror.
Yep.
Well, Agent 87 ended up being a character like that, where she's a secret agent during World War II. She's a master of disguise, so no one really knows her true face. She takes on different identities throughout each mission.
Wow. And
cool little sidekicks. She has a French weapons maker named Pierre, who she rescues from Nazi Germany and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, the Black Train, she's battling the Axis powers, so the Japanese are experimenting on all these people and creating these wild, flesh-eating creatures, and they're putting the train to, literally bombard their enemies, so she has to go stop it. So it's Walking Dead meets Indiana Jones kind of deal.
Yeah. And I haven't got a chance to read that, but I'm going to try to find it somewhere. I know it's sold out on your website, but
yeah, sold out of that. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'd like to bring that into a comic book format, maybe with Alterna. So let's see.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. So so after you did that, how did you feel? You're okay, these are the types of comics I want to be making, right?
Yeah, I felt right at home. I was like, you know what? It's funny. You go back, you really go full circle, and you're like, wow, like Picasso was onto something when he was like, you have to draw like a kid again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, did it literally? You know what I mean? I was like, oh, what inspired me as a kid? And it was horror. So Blood Realm is just, an amalgam of everything I love. It's horror, it's the history, and also being a superstitious Italian Catholic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was ingrained. Like The Exorcist is the most terrifying movie in the world not because it's like creepy, it's because, oh no, when you're superstitious, that can happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like true events. Come on. So that's interesting too, because I definitely noticed that. So I guess you casually mentioned Blood Realm, so let's talk that. Another segue. There we go. So is this something that you had an idea for a while? You can tell there's a lot of like the trio of the nuns and everything. You definitely kind of intertwined almost like a religion aspect to it as well. But
yeah, totally. Mythology in general is something I always loved. I knew like day one, Clash of the Titans, the original in the 80s, that Medusa scene was just like, wow. That blew me away because the lighting, and that's the one scene where like I'm still like, wow, this is creepy.
Yeah.
The way, like even the way she looks, the way she comes out, and then you see the guys turning into stone. My favorite thing is like when you see her, like the place where she is with the columns and the ruins, and I'm like, wow, like what was here before her? Like there's a history without telling you all the backstory. You know what I mean? Like the atmosphere really tells the story of that whole scene, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring into with Blood Realm, where I give you enough where you can let your imagination go, and you know that this is a long, breathing world that has a long history. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Dark history. And the nuns, the Sisters of Silence, definitely, who are the protagonists of the story. Echo like nuns and stuff like that. Like in terms of the dragons. I love Skyrim, so I had to put in a dragon.
You had to put a dragon. Awesome. Yeah, and okay, let's talk about the story. I read it. Chris read it, and I thought it was really interesting to take the protagonists, who are the nuns, right, the sisters, and they don't speak. They only talk with the gods, right? That's their only conversation is with the gods. So that's pretty interesting to have a mute main character, right?
Right. Yeah, of course. And they're basically, it's almost like my idea for them was where, they say that, Buddha reached like some kind of nirvana, right? That's the whole thing in Buddhism. And that when you reach nirvana, you are literally like the closest you can be. It's an enlightenment. But with the sisters, what's interesting is that it's almost considered, is it a blessing or a curse? Because they reached this enlightenment. They're the only ones to do that. These three sisters did it, but there's something deeply, disturbing and scary about their abilities, though.
Yeah.
People can't comprehend, who they are, and so that's why they're feared at the same time. They're also revered as well.
Yep.
So everything is told through the eyes of that character, Meek, who meets them. Because I'm also a huge fan of Conan the Barbarian, so I don't know if you see that influence a little bit in my work.
For sure, yep. Yeah. And it's interesting, the first issue we meet Meek at the very end, right?
Right.
And that's, and then you're like, oh, okay, so he's, this is where he meets up with them. But there's so much, even like, we get to the present story, but like, you kind of do there's a lot of storytelling before we reach that point. We talk about like the age of monsters, right? Or the age of beasts. And, there's no way you can't go back and tell stories about that too. Come on. It's like, there's so many directions you could go with this book. And I can't help but imagine you must have quite a few stories planned out here. This is...
Yeah. Alterna has been great. Peter Simeti, he is, one of the main reasons I wanted to go with Peter and Alterna is because he is just totally on board for what, the indie creator wants to create. Because I'll be honest, I don't think this is something a major publisher would take on, and we can go into that on how modern everything is very similar, especially the aesthetic, and we need some kind of indie underground voice, some publisher that's going to say, hey, let's take the risk. I mean, look, even George Lucas said that Star Wars would never be made in today's time because not one producer is going to look at that and be like, I don't know if I want to take the risk on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so exactly.
We live in a very safe. Look, we see remakes and reboots constantly.
Well, where would the comics world be without Vertigo?
Right, exactly. Totally. Well, Constantine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even Marvel Max in the beginning. I mean, they were killing it with that Punisher run.
Oh yeah.
Preacher too, going back to Vertigo.
I was gonna mention Preacher, and Chris and I have been talking about that show every week because it's new season's on. And I mean that's and when you mentioned like the holy grail of comics, because when I first got back into comics it was like college, but that's what you got to read. The Dark Knight Returns, and you read like maybe Why the Last Man, and then you pick up Preacher, and then you start reading the stuff that's coming out, regularly, and you're like, okay, where's all the iconic stuff that I read? Where's my Alan Moore Swamp Thing? I'll never see that again.
Alan Moore Swamp Thing is just, oh my god,
it's and so
even Animal Man by Grant
Morrison. Grant Morrison's Animal Man. Yep, it's a fantastic read. And now, so how many issues do you have planned out right now? Is there?
Right. So what I was getting at was, so Peter was like, listen, he was like, because he read the whole arc, because he does miniseries, and I had 3 issues of this, and there was a finished story, and he was like, listen, you can tell a lot more in this world. He goes, you're really building a universe here. He said, would you be interested in telling more stories? And I ended up signing a 2-year contract, so there's going to be 4 miniseries in total for 3 issues in each.
Really cool.
So I have a lot of stuff planned. It's allowing me to really just evolve this universe and stuff like that. So, and again, I love the newsprint format because there's nothing like opening up a comic and just smelling it and just feeling that texture. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Everything's so damn glossy now.
Everything's high gloss. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, back in the day, even with the old pulp books, the old shadow novels when they were coming out in the 30s, the reason I call them pulp is because they were like on poor paper, because
awful paper.
And then you just throw it to the next person. You know what I mean? Like literally throw it. Because they didn't look at them as like high art.
Yeah.
But that was the beauty of it. It was intended for that purpose. I think the problem is now is that everything is so focused on being an art book. Like, I want the pulp. I want to get the creases in the magazine. You know what I mean? I want to feel, the texture and the crinkles in the newsprint. And what's really good about the newsprint too is that it ages. So for me, like with a story like this, it kind of makes it feel like an old manuscript.
Yeah. Okay. That goes with the whole mythological story too of like, oh man, I found this old scroll with this story. Maybe like 300 years from now, someone will find it and be like, wow.
Oh my god, the Sisters of Silence, they're my goddesses.
I think we found new stories of like an ancient past that we don't know about. That's so cool. So I mean, and you're teaching illustration now, so but you're also writing the book too. So where did the writing come into play for you? Did you just always were into writing stories, or it kind of comes to you as you're drawing? You're like, okay, well, I'm already telling a story with my art. If I can just put a little bit behind it.
Yeah. What's funny is that I always felt, when I was younger and as I was getting older, it was like, you can't just do one. You can't just do both, because one is going to suffer if you're fully concentrating on the other. And that was my mentality the whole time. And so I found myself going through periods where it was like, all right, it's fall, it's writing season. I love to write during fall. I get super inspired during the fall. And all of a sudden, I would be like, all right, next season, I should just, forget it. Forget this writing garbage. That's crazy. I'm just going to focus on my art. And I would just do that constantly until eventually I was drawing. I was like, wait a minute. Why don't I just write this damn thing? You know what I mean? Like, why am I putting these barriers on myself? And the one thing I notice is that once you just write and you stop caring, I know it's crazy. It's like, don't think, just write, just draw, because you're your own worst enemy. You really are. And just concentrate on getting that first draft done with the knowledge that you're going to make like 12 more drafts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need to just make one draft and it needs to be perfect. You know, that's not how it works. And once I realized that it takes time, you're going to go through several drafts, I got comfortable with writing and doing art at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's easy to do both. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, we I don't think we get a lot of guests on here that do both. Especially for deadlines too. I mean, you're definitely under deadlines now, right? So now,
yeah.
now you got to get a script and the art out. That's
yeah. I try to at least, because the way I work, I actually don't. I think the old Marvel way, wasn't the old Marvel way, because this is how I do it. I don't actually write the script first. I draw the pages first.
Okay.
Then I put the words. Because in my opinion, the way I like comics is where I believe the art shouldn't serve the writing. The writing should serve the art, because it's in my opinion. You know, that's just how I like to interact with books. And I think it's kind of a pain when, you know, you're giving the strict script by somebody and the artist has to like, okay, interpret that. But wouldn't it be cool if the artist just, you know, I think that's the way it was with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, wasn't it, in the beginning? Like, wouldn't he say, listen, I got a story, this and that, it's got to be this many pages, and then Jack would write it, and then would illustrate it, and then Stan would go, okay, I could fit some words in here.
Yeah, it wasn't really clear-cut, like, scripts. And then
so Stan basically plotted, and then they drew, and then they went back and wrote the words.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, yeah, I find that format, that works for me. And every artist and every writer, you know, works very differently. I just find that if I stick to a strict script, I can't allow for those, like, little happy accidents to happen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, you know, now if I do this, I could add in a page here, you know, that could expand this little scene that's happening, you know, as opposed to just being, like, so, you know, segmented.
Yeah. And that's... You go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was gonna say that's what I like about when I write, because like I have my thoughts of what it's gonna be, and 9 times out of 10 it's inspired by something else. So like it's, you know, I have it thought of being this character and it's inspired that way, but then when I just say this happens, blah blah blah, and the artist gets it, and the artist's just like trying to interpret what I'm meaning, his interpretation is usually better than the inspiration that I got from somewhere else.
Right, because I mean that's the illustrator's job, is to read this, absorb it, and then interpret it like really visually. You know,
and that's why I talk about just comics as a medium. Anyways, I always make this example of like, people are always like, you got to read The Dark Tower, man. Like, I know you don't read novels, you read comics, but read The Dark Tower, and I mean, well, The Dark Tower is a comic now, but I always go to like the example of, okay, there's like, when you open the first version, I think The Dark Tower, I think it's The Gunslinger is like the first volume, and you're reading it, and it's like talking about him walking across the desert for like 35 pages. I mean, Stephen King's a great writer. Like, people love that. Yeah. And, you know, I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, he takes a drink of water, and it's like, when you get to the graphic novel, okay, you open the graphic novel and it's like, that's all given to you. They don't, I mean, it shows them walking through the desert, it shows them making a fire and taking a drink of water, all in 2 pages.
Oh yeah.
Totally. And the visuals amazing. I mean, the art in that book is amazing too. So I'm like, this is more, I'm getting a lot more content in a quicker time, is kind of like how it is. But,
no, it's true. It really is true. And, you know, like, one thing that people don't understand, especially when they're, you know, illustrating or writing comics, is that you have a lot of different jobs in one. And, you know, that's why it kills me when someone like reads my comic and then they go like this to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I spent like 20 hours on that page. Can you just give it 5 more seconds? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my God, please. Yep. But like, you were really the screenwriter. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming if someone's doing everything, then so you got the screenwriter, then you have the artist is and the writer, the director, right? Mm-hmm. Is also the cinematographer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The costume designer. Okay. Yep. the actor because you have to show expression.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And it's really a lot in one. The only thing this is what's the coolest thing about comics. The one thing you can't control is how someone hears that character's voice.
Yeah, yep.
You know, like I go by that visual, but who knows? Maybe, you know, your Frank Castle could sound very different from my Frank Castle. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you can't control how the reader, you know, goes through the story. So you need to kind of arrange the art in a way where they can go through the story the way you want, but it's still not under your control completely, you know? Mm-hmm. But I like that. But it's the voice thing that I love, you know, that no matter what, like, they're going to listen to those sound effects, they're going to hear that voice, and it's totally different for every person. So,
I mean, I think almost every time I read Batman, it's like, it's always Kevin Conroy now.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting you said that because, like, obviously, not to really spoil the book, but we meet the narrator. So through that narration, you're kind of like, oh, okay, like this is someone's telling the story, and it's kind of just, I don't know, a default voice. But then you meet, what is it, Meek at the end?
Yes,
and he's kind of like a scrawny kind of demon looking character. So, and then okay, now you have a voice for him on that page. Is exactly. Like that's where it comes into, and it's kind of like, you know, this little screechy like troll voice is what it turned into for me. But it was like really cool. Anything until now. And so that's interesting that you bring that up because they're that's like, you can tell it's established in that page. I mean, you see him and then your mind kind of makes up a voice for him almost.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do too, because you're kind of wondering, all right, this whole book is just like a third person narration, you know, by the author. But then when you finally get to that scene where you realize, oh, there's a story that's being told by this particular character, you know. Mm-hmm. Then what happens is it also makes you think, oh, wow, so that means any other character I meet here through Meek, they may not be safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not to spoil it.
Yeah. So let's talk about horror really quick here. So obviously that's influenced you throughout your life. You've always been into horror movies, and I mean, you said Constantine, so you already have a dark influence there with like the monster movie stuff and Swamp Thing. So how'd you get into that?
Well, again, my mom was always into pop culture stuff. So Halloween time, it would be, okay, we need to put on the Wolfman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dracula. Yep. My grandmother would have the old VHS tapes. And it's funny, weird saying that now, right? The old VHS
tape. The old VHS tape.
This is very strange.
Like, what do you do with them now? Yeah.
Yeah. So she would have those, and, you know, I would just watch those movies, I would rewind it, watch it again. And it was a whole nother world. And what's so cool, even with the black and white, when I was a kid, I thought this was like real. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
This is found footage.
Yeah. Yep.
From that time period. So that was really my introduction, and then slowly the first rated R movie I ended up being allowed to see because strict Catholic house, a lot of rated R movies were not allowed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, Alien.
Oh man, and I love that you said like horror, right? I mean it's so everybody talks about like Alien and Aliens is like. Yeah. It's almost 50. It's 50-50 of like, okay, one's an action movie, one's the horror movie.
Of course, yeah.
But totally. Yeah, I think that might be in my top 5 horror films for sure.
You know, I saw that, and it's funny. I guess my mom gave in because she was like, I was like 13, and she was like, all right, let's get Alien. I mean, I think it was different. I think she was just in the mood to watch it, and she was
she just wanted to see it too.
The hell of this Catholic crap. Let's just watch the movie.
and I mean, talk about like visually stunning. The whole marketing for that film was, I mean, it was the that poster of like in space, nobody can hear you scream, right?
Oh my God.
That was the tagline for the film. Ridley Scott was genius.
It's I was terrified when I first saw it because you didn't see the creature. It was just flashes, glimpses. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's when, you know, your imagination is going and going. I mean, obviously we can go into the later films, how now, you see it all the time where, you kind of, that just happens with horror. When you see something over and over again, it kills the heightened tension. For that first film, when you first see it, I mean, not to mention the body horror.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And that is a huge influence in my work. And as you go through Blood Realm, body horror for sure. And then then my fascination with body horror led to later on, Chris could tune out for a minute, Korean and Japanese horror.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because that's definitely what they focus on. And I've watched a few of those now, but it definitely gets more into the body horror. But and I feel like a lot of those horror movies fall into the trap of like, okay, you can almost split it down the middle 50-50 of like, okay, this horror movie is a jump scare. It's going to make $100 million this opening weekend because people want to go see like My Bloody Valentine 3D, and they want a cheesy jump scare. But then you're going to get this audience for another movie like The Witch or like some type of psychological horror, or like even The Witch. There isn't that much dialogue in a movie like The Witch. It's just visually stunning and it's visually creepy.
Yeah. The Witch is great, and it's built, and again, an influence in Blood Realm for sure with The Witch is just atmosphere.
Yeah,
it's just tension, and just it's there's a build up, which is why for me The Exorcist isn't just a great horror movie; it's an excellent drama and thriller, because the exorcism isn't like the last half hour of the film.
Yeah, yeah, right.
This build up, this tension, and not to mention. That freaking white face is just... I can't look at that. I can't.
Yeah.
If I see it, my day's shot. I'm ruined. I close my eyes. I'm like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, no, that's all you can see. Yeah, it's terrifying.
And if you see... Now, you read Blood Realm, so the Dark Lord Cyphus is influenced by that face.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's pretty creepy looking.
Yeah.
And for you, is it like, you're the one drawing these creepy faces, right? So is there a point you reach where you're like, okay, I can't draw this past 10 p.m. tonight because it's
yeah, sure. I realize that I'm not succeeding as a horror artist if I'm not disturbed.
Yeah. So
if I'm drawing this face and I'm not just like, I need to get the hell out of my own house and run, then I'm not doing a good job. So I purposely try to get myself uncomfortable when I'm drawing scenes. And it's a good way to face the fears too, I think.
Yeah, head on. You're looking right at it, right? So, and let's talk about that really quick too. You said horror artist, and obviously you've been talking about it, but you have some, like, are these commissions on your website, or are they just ones that you draw and then you end up selling?
Yeah, those are stuff that I do just to warm up sometimes, and then I throw them on the website and I sell them. Yeah, and that's when I really saw that, oh wow, this horror thing is something that, and people really connect with what I'm doing with these characters and the style that I've been evolving into. Yeah, so I range from like Constantine to Prometheus, So Slender Man was a big one.
Yeah, Slender Man, I that's probably one of the best renditions of Slender Man I've seen. And then you have, the penguin from Tim Burton's film it's pretty terrifying to begin with, but it's like you made him like a horror movie.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then the Pennywise is great.
Oh, thanks. Funny story with the Pennywise one. Okay, I sold that at Comic-Con. Was it last year? I think I do New York Comic. Well, where are you guys based?
I'm based out of Massachusetts. Chris, you're out of Western New York.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, again, if you guys ever come to New York Comic Con, you got to stop by and say hi. So basically, I had the Pennywise for sale, and obviously that movie was hot. It just came out, a couple of months before that, and you kind of think you get a good read on who's going to buy things. You know what I mean? You see customers, and this kid comes up, and he just looks at Pennywise like this. I was like, "Hey, buddy," and he was just like, "That's Pennywise from It." And I said, "Yeah, it is. Yeah."
Yeah.
His mom walks over, and she was like, "All right, come on, let's go." And he was like, "I want that." And my mom was like, "Absolutely not." She was like, "I'm not kidding." She goes, "If you want that, then you're going to pay for it with your own money." and all of a sudden, I'm not kidding you, this kid reaches, still staring at Pennywise, reaches into his pocket and just pulls out bills.
Wow! All right.
I was like, dude,
really, he has his own money.
I don't know, it's pimping or something. I don't know what. He slapped that cash right in my hand and took that Pennywise home. This kid had to be literally like 10, 12 years old.
That is awesome. He was prepared. He knew he went there knowing he was going to drop money on one thing.
He did. All that lunch money he stole.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Or maybe saving up all his allowance, it went to Pennywise. So yeah. I was on it.
So I mean, those got to reel people in. I mean, if you display those at a con, man.
Oh yeah.
Those bring people to your table left and right, I would imagine.
And originally, the book, the interiors weren't going to have the red. So I assume you guys enjoyed. Did you guys enjoy the comic with the red visual style and everything?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was actually Peter Simeti's suggestion, because I was just like, I was still hell bent on like old manuscript, black and white.
Black and white, yeah.
And he was like, it looks great in black and white, but he was like, that cover, the covers of the comics that you're doing are just so intense and they're so eye-catching.
Mm-hmm.
If you can reel that into your interiors, I really think that would be a great idea. So at first I was like, hell no, it's not going to work. And I'm putting it in. I'm like, this stinks. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? It's really giving it a brand new life. You know what I mean? And that's the power of color, even the subtle little splashes of it.
When it comes to black and white horror that I've read in the past, those little emphasis of red really pop out and just bring your eye to that spot. And that's what I loved about it, is when you just like threw in a little bit of red here and there, and like,
thanks, man.
Other than most of it's black and white, but then there's just like that just draws you into it. Yeah,
especially like in a specific scene, you know what I mean? It just it makes it really come to life and pop out in the forefront, So so good on. Kudos to Peter for that. He was a big advocate for that.
Yeah, it creates some really good visuals, especially, I mean, you get that nice contrast out of it, but, I mean, you open up with that first opening page of like, okay, everything's black and white, and then you get the meat kind of at the very center bottom there. I think that's a really cool visual, and I mean, you can almost see that as a horror film or something, right? I mean, and it almost it gives me like a Sin City vibe, which is great. That's
which vibe?
Like Sin City, like the.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll tell you my influences now. Then I mean that's
Let's
I mean Frank Miller for sure.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That black and white Sin City, like you just said, number one.
Yep.
Number two is an Italian artist. He's a comic artist. So this style of page layouts is popular with Sergio Tappi. I really recommend you guys check out his work. It's very. I work in a similar style.
Okay.
Heavy lit line work, and the way he composes his pages, where it's just all together in one. I think Archaea. Are you familiar with Archaea? They do. I think they're bought by Boom Studios now. They did a big compilation with one of his books. And
check it out.
The third artist. So this is my trinity here. It's Frank Miller,
Trinity. Yeah.
Sergio Tappi, and Junji Ito. If you're not familiar with the horror manga artist.
Oh yeah.
Uzumaki.
Yep.
Wow, that stuff. I highly recommend if you haven't checked out Uzumaki, man.
I've never read it, but I've seen pages here and there.
Oh yeah, I've never been completely. I never knew that just line alone, could make me queasy, and like line work could make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
he really does that with his artwork. It's so disturbing. So I definitely it's like those three artists all meshed into one, you know what I mean? Because you have to take your influences from somewhere. It's normal.
Yeah, and I mean, you definitely the half goat, half man people they definitely look very demonic and stuff.
And the whole arc of the whole epic journey through Blood Realm in each miniseries. So we have this war, as you know, with humans. And the Supremes, who are the Goat Warriors. Mm-hmm. So each miniseries is a different perspective in that war. So this one's Meek and the Sisters. The second issue the second series is a different group, and then the third, and then the fourth is like the epilogue of how this whole thing concludes.
Wow, it's really cool. Yeah, so where's the best place for people to find you?
Best place to find. I'm sorry, you broke up there.
Oh, sorry. Best place to find you and like what you're doing, all the stuff that you're putting out here. Just your website here.
Oh, so robertgeronimo.com. But I mainly always update my Instagram. So it's at @rgeronimoart. Yeah, and I encourage people to, for sure, pre-order Blood Realm if they can. I got to support the indie comics.
Yep.
Now August 29th.
And that's through Alterna
Comics. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And with that Alterna Comics, the newsprint format also means that it is very affordable as well. I believe it's at $1.25.
$1.50.
$1.50. See, breaking the bank, man.
How can you say no to that? I mean, come on, that's a steal right there.
I forgot one YouTuber. I forgot who was reviewing Alterna Comics. He was like $1.50 is like basically free.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's almost free at that point.
He was like, if you walk 5 blocks and someone told you just dropped your $1.50, what would you do? You're gonna be like, oh, I gotta run back and get it.
Yeah, no, no way. Yeah.
So you can't go wrong. You know what I mean? And Peter's really taking the risk on some awesome, cool indie stories that, in my opinion, a lot of big publishers just wouldn't really take that chance on. So it's really cool to have that, that underground world again.
Awesome. Very cool.
So, Robert, thanks again for being on the show, and look forward to seeing what you got coming out next. And you are welcome back anytime, man.
Oh, thanks, bro. You guys are great. Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for being on the
show.
And
we're back.
Wow. I kind of took the reins of that one. I heard horror and I was like, okay, Chris, I got work to do. Sorry, dude. But
I sat back and just enjoyed. It was good.
Yeah, and it's funny. We didn't record a lot of it, but him and I started geeking out over Hereditary that just came out. So we kind of, I was like, we don't need to record half an hour of us talking about horror movies, but we shall. What a treasure! We shall definitely have him back on the show when we get a few issues out there. Yeah, I mean, awesome dude. So we got a lot of comic book news to talk about.
The calm before the storm.
Yeah, exactly. So Static Shock's returning in October.
Yay. I never really cared for Static Shock.
I love the show. But this isn't that. This is just a comic. So I don't know what's going on. Like, just give us Static Shock back. Like, just bring the show back.
It's so weird because DC seems to put a lot behind that character, and it never works.
They're like, they put so much behind him, then they just, I feel like, I don't know. Everybody's always like, that show was awesome. They're like, okay, then here's a comic, and it's like, well, yeah, that's cool too. Like, I feel like Static Shock has his own like little fan base within DC, and they're like, okay, you like Static Shock? Well, here's a Black Lightning TV show, and they're like, no, that's not what we asked for either. Like, I just want to see. I want to see a win for the Static Shock fans. All right, we're moving on. I'm not trying to shit on it. I'll probably read the first couple issues, but if I'm not mistaken, Static Shock came out with the original
New
52. And was it Mark Bernardin that wrote it? Wasn't it Mark Bernardin? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you guys go back and fact check me on that. Pretty sure Mark Bernardin, the other half to Fat Man on Batman, wrote that. But maybe I don't know. Maybe it's time for people to pick it up again. I feel like you got to get people excited again about Static Shock. Maybe they're going to add it to their new DC streaming service. Maybe they'll have all the old episodes on there. I don't know.
They should.
Yeah. G. Willow Wilson is taking over for Wonder Woman, which is awesome. What a great writer to take over for Wonder Woman, because she co-created Mrs. Marvel, and her run. I mean, I didn't read it, but I heard good things about her run with Miss Marvel.
Yeah, it seems to me like the Bendis clan at Marvel is slowly starting to migrate to DC.
They're jumping ship.
and yeah, this is the start. Like, Miss Marvel's been a huge character for Marvel recently.
Oh, yeah.
For the co-creator to leave like that, I mean, I don't know if this is an exclusive deal or whatnot, but for her to jump over and do something at DC is pretty big. Not Bendis big, but still big. So it's an interesting little migration we're watching here.
And I think I'll be picking up that Wonder Woman for sure, because the talent to create your own character and get a fan base like that. Like, I remember, I mean, Miss Marvel was hitting newsstands everywhere when that book came out. Like, it was all over the place. Yeah, so definitely gonna be picking that up. Nick Spencer's taking over Archie, and they're going back to legacy numbering, so it's going to start with issue 700. That I don't know how I feel about that, but that doesn't. I'm kind of indifferent about Archie. I mean, Archie's there; it's great. And
I read some of the Mark Waid, Fiona Staples stuff.
Yeah,
I fell off after a while. I'll be interested. I'll probably check it out because I'm a Nick Spencer fan, and he has like the comedic chops to do a book like this.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It's interesting that Mark Waid's leaving. I don't know. It's got to be. He's done a lot of issues. I'm sure there's a reason, but that's the big takeaway for me is Mark Waid's not doing Archie anymore.
Yeah, he's off it. So this is pretty big news. R.L. Stine is signing a deal with Boom Studios to do horror comics. That's pretty cool, man. R.L. Stine's back in it, and he's like, "Wow, I could do this. I could do this comic book thing."
Yeah, he did that Man-Thing run a little while back.
Yeah. So now it
was okay.
Uh-huh.
But we'll see. I wonder if any of these books will be named Goosebumps.
I would, if they redid Goosebumps as like a comic, like each issue of the comic was a different one shot or something like that, I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would be.
I mean, they just dropped the trailer for the second Goosebumps movie.
Yes, I keep hearing the first one was good, but I never.
Yeah, and the second one kind of looks like the same thing. I'm going to watch it because Jack Black's in it, obviously, but okay, so Dark Horse announces Hotel Oblivion, which is a sequel to Umbrella Academy. There's a big fan base out there for Umbrella Academy with Gerard Way, right? Is that Gerard Way?
Yes.
Lead singer of The Used, so that'll be, I'm sure lots of people will be picking that up.
Gerard Way is My Chemical Romance, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, The Used. Oh, geez. I'm going to get shit for that one. I knew that too, because I listened to My Chemical Romance. Fix that in post. Oh no, I'm gonna suffer for eternity for that one.
So I was never a fan of that era of music, even though I grew up in it.
Yeah,
and I really never liked him, and I never read this book because it came out around a time where I was just like, yeah, man, like fuck that guy, he's in My Chemical Romance, and. You know, you've been there. We've all been.
Yeah, I know. I bet. Oh, I do. I still do that about stuff.
And I'm actually gonna go back and try this book out because I've had people tell me like, no, dude, it's actually a really good book.
I've heard that too.
And people who don't like his other stuff and everything. So I do want to try the old book out and see. But it's a big deal. Like, there's people that really love that book, and don't think it's a coincidence that it got picked up for a Netflix series and now we're getting more comics. Just saying.
Yeah. Yep, definitely not. Scotty and Lewis crowdfunding a new original content book called Death Dreamer.
Original graphic novel.
Yeah, that OGN thing threw me off there. It's going to be with the vocalist from Carnifex. Oh no, that is the vocalist of Carnifex.
Scott Ian Lewis is the vocalist for Carnifex.
Yeah,
yes.
I guess I didn't realize that was the name. That's pretty cool. I mean, that kind of goes along with the Gerard Way thing, but it's talking about. These guys are writers, right? They're writing music, so that's pretty cool. Death Dreamer. I wonder what that's going to be like.
I wonder if it's going to be a horror-esque book with lots of violence and.
I bet, because most of the Carnifex songs are like that. So really heavy shit. So, and that's gonna be at San Diego Comic-Con, right?
Yeah. So they're crowdfunding it now, and then he's gonna have copies of the book at San Diego Comic-Con. I threw this in here because I couldn't remember if you were a fan of Carnifex, but I'm a huge fan of Carnifex, and I think it's cool that he's kind of doing something else and trying to do this comic thing, even if it's in his own way. So.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's cool.
I want to check it out.
I love metal, so I'll probably end up checking it out too. Yeah, so been a pretty busy week for news and stuff, but did you get to read anything, Chris?
Oh, God, I got 2 weeks of books for you.
Yeah, same. Let me just pull up my League of Comic Geeks app to see what I read so I can remember. Did I talk about Batman 50 on here yet? Did we talk? I felt like I talked about that.
We have not.
Okay, Batman 50, everybody. Here it goes. Here we go. Oh, that's right. I talked with Chris at the comic shop about Batman 50. I talked to Chris in real life, everybody. Wow. Amazing. Batman number 50. So, great issue. I mean, Batman 49 was one of the best Batman issues I've ever read. Batman 50, I'm not going to express any distaste with this book until we see where it goes, because the final page in it, I know the articles are all over the internet. Everybody's shitting on poor Tom King, saying he's a bogus writer and all this stuff, but it's like, you bought 49 issues of his Batman run after Scott Snyder came off a hit and run. So is he really that bad of a writer? Like, come on. Listen, it was good. I don't understand the whole ending of, okay, the wedding never really happens and Bane was behind it all, and we'll see where that goes. I have no comment on that until I get like 10 more issues. And would I have liked the wedding to happen? Yes. Will I keep reading Tom King's Batman? Yes.
So I didn't read the issue.
Yeah.
Because I read it in trade, but I believe I said before this book came out that I didn't think they were going to get married because DC had a thing.
Oh yeah.
Batman can't be happy.
Yeah, no DC character can be happy.
Yes, but I think that's really over the years, because they did that for New 52, I believe. Mm-hmm. But it seems like Batman's really the emphasis on that. So
yeah.
But here's my thing. You've done 70 years of Batman, right?
Yeah.
You've done campy, you've done this, you've done that,
75,
you've done dark. Yeah. Why not just try? Like, it's a comic book. You can retcon it later. They could get divorced. Like, I don't know. It feels to me, and I will never know the answer, but it feels to me like this was DC editorial saying this can't happen.
Yeah. Because it was all, I mean, the whole issue, honestly, and obviously he's not going to shit on DC because he's locked in for 50 more issues. But the way it happened, the way the wedding got abandoned so abruptly, and like the last two, I mean, the whole issue, you're like showing off the relationship between Batman and Catwoman. Then the last 2 pages, you're just like, nope. Yeah. See ya. And I almost agree with you there, because it just feels like, how can I change this? Okay, just tear out the last 2 pages, insert these 2 pages, and
I feel bad for Joelle Jones, who's doing the Catwoman book, because I feel like her book's going to get kind of shoved to the side over this whole thing, and I've heard it's really good. Mm-hmm. But I also want to point out, like, the whole adage, great minds think alike. So Marvel did a wedding as well recently, and they also, at the last second, didn't do it. But what they did do is take 2 other characters and make them get married in that issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't understand it. Like, there's cool stories to be mined in these things. Mm-hmm. Why not try it? Like,
just try it.
Yeah. If it's not working, just retcon it. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's a comic. You could always retcon it. Paper Girls number 22 and 21. I think I talked about 21. I still like Paper Girls a lot because now we're getting more into the time travel. Like the group of girls they're in the future now, and the issue kind of wraps up. Like one of the girls had a glimpse of like things that should happen, and basically the issue ends with like someone calling for help on a radio, and she doesn't recognize the voice, but it sounds like her. Like, so like she's calling for help on the radio that they have, but she's holding the radio. So something's happening. There's a paradox happening somewhere. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But okay, Walking Dead 181. Chris read that too.
I did.
It was a good issue. I mean, you get to see both the groups working together, fight off zombies. There was a copy paste from The Last Jedi in it, though, for sure. I don't know if it was like throwing. I don't know what the kids call it these days. Throwing haze, throwing something, making fun of. I don't know, but so there's a scene where who's that new character with the pink outfit? Princess. She's fighting off zombies with that bodyguard dude. And not to be racist or anything, but both of these characters are the same. They're the same race as Finn and Rose in Star Wars, and they both almost die. And then she kisses him, and he's really surprised by it. And she said, "I thought we were having a moment there, and it was really awkward and not fitting at all." Which I think is Robert Kirkman's like making fun of Last Jedi kiss scene. That's what I completely read it as that. I don't think I don't know. What do you think?
I didn't get that at all personally.
No? No. Man. Okay. Wow. I immediately read that. I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I thought this was a decent issue. It was really showing that the Commonwealth leader wanted to kind of show their strength to Rick and the rest of the group. At the same time, I think the bodyguard, who was already talking about mutiny issues prior, is kind of fed up with their shit, because when it happened, he was not informed of what was going on. It just kind of was thrown upon him. He almost died, and he's just like, what the hell was that? And she just said, I knew you could handle it.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about that. I read the Donny Cates book. There's two Donny Cates books, correct? I'm sorry. There's Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yes.
I'll let you talk about that. I thought it was awesome.
I loved Cosmic Ghost Rider. The only critique I have is the art was like an 8, and I really wanted Jeff Shaw, because he would have made it a 10.
Yeah, the art was a little, like, for as serious as they were talking, like, the art was a little cartoony.
Yeah.
I will agree with that.
It's interesting because, it's Frank Castle in Valhalla, and he doesn't fit in, and he's given this opportunity. You can go back to one place in time and fix things. And I was sitting there going, like, he's going to go back to his family being murdered.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that. He goes back to Thanos' birth, and it seems like maybe he's responsible for who Thanos is.
Yeah, now we're in another time paradox.
Yeah, so it was an interesting story. I really want to see what the next issue has on.
I mean, this one had Baby Thanos, so...
Yeah, we got Baby Thanos, but Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Cool. He's like, why are you so strong? Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, that was a great issue. Also, Death of the Inhumans.
Yes.
Really good.
Yeah. Any
book? I don't give a shit about the Inhumans.
Yeah, I'm not all. I'm not a huge Inhumans fan, but when you do Inhumans, you need to do the royal family.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And huge spoilers here, but any book that ends with who is it? I just lost my entire train of thought there.
Damn.
but ends with these two characters dying. I'm all for.
Oh,
it was Lockjaw, and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so awesome. Like, it was done such a cool way, and yeah, I'm in for this story.
Yeah, Black Bolt's going to be killing some people, is what's going to happen.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So I had 2 Marvel books there. I had a Marvel book this week. I read Amazing Spider-Man. I did read Amazing Spider-Man.
I'm winning, everybody.
Yeah, 3 Marvel books in 2 weeks. That's pretty. That's more than usual. Amazing Spider-Man, really good. Ryan Ottley's art makes me feel like I'm reading Invincible again. So all is well in the world. Like, straight up though, Mary Jane and Peter Parker are Mark Grayson and Eve. Like, straight up.
Yeah, you said you read Amazing Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure I read Invincible and Eve in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah. And it almost started off like a Guardians of the Globe issue when they're like, Spider-Man jumps in, they're all fighting everybody. Really funny that Mysterio ended up being the villain in that book. That was cool to see, because we had just talked about that, didn't we? Or no, because he's going to be in the movie, so they had there's probably a little pushing to be like, okay, guys, got to include him. He's going to be in the movie, so.
Yeah, there's so much, like, they took... I feel like Nick Spencer really wanted to do some Invincible-esque stuff with this book, because the whole aliens coming from the portal in the sky was taken straight out of Invincible.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And Otley's art was fantastic. I like to pick on him for, we were talking earlier, it looks like the characters from Invincible, but he's still, like, he knows how to draw superheroes so well.
Oh yeah,
and
he really,
that 2-page spread of Thor and Captain America and all the other heroes in the Marvel Universe was just so amazing. And
I know. It was awesome.
love this book. And I love having Boomerang as their roommate who's up at 5 a.m. playing Call of Duty Latveria.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it was good. And I think it was interesting to see his whole life is falling apart now, which is cool.
Yeah, and that was another cool thing, is they tied into the Superior Spider-Man storyline, which, if anyone knows, that's when Doc Ock took over Peter Parker's body. And also at the same time, Nick Spencer did this little story called Superior Foes of Spider-Man that starred Boomerang. So it's kind of cool that they're like tying into that and kind of basically ruining Peter's life through that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the falling out of like him as Peter Parker too is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's one way to reboot it and have him go back to just taking pictures of Spider-Man instead of being like this whole tech leader and editorial on the science papers and stuff. Like they're honestly kind of turning him into like a Tony Stark. What do you think about it? Like,
well, they did for a while there. He owned his own company. And,
which is kind of ridiculous for Peter Parker. I mean, Peter Parker was a high schooler with powers, and that's how everybody could relate to him. It was a great book. I loved it. I'm going to keep reading it. It's a Marvel book, another Marvel book that I'm reading. Hold on, I had more. Superman #1 by Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah,
pretty interesting conversation between Martian Manhunter and Superman, to where Martian Manhunter thinks Superman should just take the reins and just rule the Earth. Which is interesting, because I almost see there's a bridge being burned between those guys.
Somebody needs to take Martian Manhunter over to the Injustice universe and show them what happens when Superman does that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely more to that's going to be happening. Also, lo and behold, that villain is back at the end of the issue. New guy.
We got a brand new Fortress of Solitude because the old one was destroyed.
Yeah, he rebuilds a new one in the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And then, did Ivan Reis do the... Yeah, Ivan Reis does the art, and that means that the book is perfectly drawn in every way, because I fucking love Ivan Reis's art.
And they kind of took... I mean, Lois and John are out of the picture right now, which is kind of interesting too.
Yeah, which you didn't read Man of Steel, but that was Man of Steel.
Yeah, they kind of recapped you in this issue, but
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so now it's really just the Superman book. Yeah, so we'll see. I liked it. I mean, it was good for sure. With the whole Phantom Zone, like the city being in a Phantom Zone now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, where they took it with the Earth being in the Phantom Zone, be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, every villain is up for grabs now. So, also this week, I read, where the hell is it? I read Oblivion Song number 5 by Kirkman.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good issue.
That was. It really got the story moving.
Yeah, because we finally meet up. He finally finds Ed, his brother. And you find out that maybe not everybody wants to leave.
Yeah, there's a couple twists in here. Like, not everybody wants to leave this world. They think this is where they belong, which was a twist that you could kind of see coming, but I honestly didn't. And then the other story, the B story, where the United States government is kind of looking over this whole operation and comes in and checks everything, and they find out that our main character had been building a bomb the whole time. And not a small bomb, big bomb.
I think he's planning on destroying that other world.
Yeah. So I've loved the book so far, but this issue took the story the furthest in one issue. Like, it really brought everything together and showed the complexity of what Kirkman has going on here.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I don't know, like, was he planning on getting everybody out before he wants to destroy the place, or just
his brother?
Just his brother, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So, yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, it was a good issue. Also, I read the Robert Geronimo book.
Yeah.
Blood. Oh my God.
Blood Realm.
Blood Realm. Sorry. Yeah, really great. The art. If you love horror movies, if you love mythological stuff, read this book. The art alone is like a Sin City black and white with highlight. It's the background what you're reading now, or what you're seeing now. I don't want to give too much away. You just got to read it. There's a lot of deep mythological lore going on here. There's a war between the humans and these beasts, and there's these protagonists they're like divine nuns that have these powers. We talked about it in the interview, so you guys know, but I really liked it. I'm going to be picking it up along with all the other issues too. What did you think?
I absolutely loved it. The art was really fantastic. It had like a cave painting kind of mythological painting style to it, and it really added to the tenseness of the story. The book comes out at the end of August. Order it from your comic shops. It's well worth your time, and it's $1.50. I mean, Alterna's releasing these books cheaply and selling them cheaply, and they got some cool books at a very affordable price. So check those out.
Yeah, for sure. Head up Alterna Comics. You just go to the main webpage, and it's just tons of books, $1.50. Come on, you can't beat that.
Yeah. So, my turn. I got a ton of books. So, Mike went over a bunch of them, but I also read from Alterna Eden #1, which will be out later this month, July 25th. I really liked Eden. If you get a chance, check it out. It's once again July 25th, $1.50. It's a sci-fi story where this woman loses her child. She's on an adventure to find the child and has to go through these trials to get to it, and it creates a very cool sci-fi world. Almost like if you are a StarCraft fan, the world that they're entering reminds me a lot of the Zerg, which is what kind of brought me in. So I really like that. Justice League #3. Fuck, Justice League is good.
Oh my God, yeah. So little thing about Justice League, I apparently missed a couple of those issues, so I got to go back and read those. But I will be reading Justice League.
Yeah, there's just so much going on, and it's so over the top. You got Batman, Hawkgirl inside of Martian Manhunter and Superman's body trying to fight off this infestation. The Source Wall is all fucked up, and Jon Stewart is now in Sinestro's new Lantern Corps, which was I forget the exact style, but it's a color we can't see. It's nuts, and everybody should be reading it.
I will be.
We had the final issue of I Hate Fairyland, and Gert had to fight the Dark Claudia, and she finally does and is able to escape Fairyland, and we end it with her back in the real world where she has a desk job and is wishing that she could go back to Fairyland now. 20 issues, Scotty Young art. Pick this book up in trade when it comes out. Quantum Age #1. This is a Black Hammer book from Jeff Lemire. It's the Black Hammer universe, thousands of years in the future. Basically, at one point, aliens came and invaded Earth, so now Earth is protected against Martians and different aliens. And all along, this one alien who wasn't a part of the whole invasion is trying to get back the Quantum League to try to fight different enemies that are coming. So it's it's almost like Legion of Superheroes. I mean, all these Black Hammer books have their kind of Marvel or DC version that they're basing it after. Legion of Superheroes, if you're a Legion fan, Jeff Lemire, check it out.
Yeah, I completely missed that book even came out. I'll have to get it.
And 2, I want to go a little deep on. So I'm going to start with Robert Kirkman did a stealth launch last Wednesday. So he didn't tell anyone was coming. He just sent these books out to the comic shops for free, and they were able to sell them. It is him, Scott Gimble from the Walking Dead TV show, and Chris Burnham doing the art. It's called Die, Die, Die. Book was really good. Burnham is really kind of cleaned up a bit in his line work since he was working with Grant Morrison, at least the last I saw. Yeah. And it's got a real, almost Mark Millar feel, where it feels kind of like Kingsman, Secret Service, whatever you want to call it. Where it's the secret organization, and they're tasked with killing certain people to keep things running smoothly. But then they get attacked, and now they have to find out who the mole is and all this. Really cool. And I just really suggest it. If you can find a copy of it, it's definitely worth your time.
That's pretty awesome they did that. I haven't picked up my books. Hopefully there's one in my book collection.
And then the elephant in the room, Captain America #1.
Oh.
So, I went into this book not feeling Ta-Nehisi Coates. I didn't like what he was saying going into it. I wasn't a fan of the Free Comic Book Day issue, so I was worried.
Mm-hmm.
First issue's pretty good. It does a great job of getting you caught up with where Cap is, what happened in Secret Empire, and why people are kind of hesitant to work with him. But at the same time, showing that he wants to get back to boots on the ground Captain America. It sets up the villain really well, that there's another organization working that's taking the place of Hydra, and that they are not good people.
They're very bad people.
And then, what was it? Lionel Francis Yu, his art is spot on. I couldn't imagine anyone better for Captain America right now.
Awesome.
So all in all, I'll say some of the reviews were down on it. As a Captain America fan, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good first issue. With Ta-Nehisi Coates, though, I want to see where this book ends up 5-6 issues down the line, because the biggest complaint he gets is that his stories don't really go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It was a great first issue, and we'll see where it goes from there. But it kind of calmed me down a bit, because I was legitimately worried about this book being awful.
That's That's never good when your favorite character is like, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So, Mike, with all that, where can all these fine people find you on the internet?
After listening to us for 2 hours, you can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you, Christopher?
They can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you know where to find the show, FCN_official, FortressComicNews.com, YouTube.com/FortressComicNews, Twitch.com/FortressComicNews. Basically, take a website /FortressComicNews and we're there.
Yeah,
if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up, comment below, subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with everything going on with Fortress Comic News. And if you're listening to our beautiful, sultry voices, make sure to go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. It helps with the algorithm bullshit and all that stuff. Do that. Makes us feel good. And then make sure to jump over to teespring.com/FCN t-shirt to grab one of our wonderful shirts.
Wonderful shirts. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching, everyone. No.